Okay, so for the last part of our discussion of this chapter, we want to look at the handout adverbial participles. Participles can be either adjectival or adverbial in the Greek language. So look at my examples here. Okay, adjectival participle, the grinning cat ate. An adjective modifies a what? A noun. Okay, an adjective modifies a noun. Well, here is the participle grinning, and it is modifying the word cat, the grinning cat. What kind of cat? The grinning cat. Okay, so this participle modifies the noun. By the way, is this participle active or passive? Active. Our active participles we will frequently translate with ing forms. And whatever the participle is modifying, if it's active, then that thing being modified is doing the action. Is the cat in the sentence doing the grinning here? It is. The grinning cat. And what did he do? The grinning cat ate. Now, the adverbial use of the participle would be something like this. While grinning, the cat ate. Now, what does this expression while grinning do? It's telling you when the verb happened. The cat ate. When did the cat eat? The cat ate while grinning. Now, who's doing the grinning here? The cat is still doing the grinning, but the more important thing that the participle is doing is qualifying the verbal activity of the main clause. That's what an adverb does. Adverbs modify verbs, and adverbial participles modify verbs too. Chapters 27 and 28 in Mounce deal only with the adverbial participle. We deal with the present stem participle in 27, the aorist stem participle in 28. But I want to just talk about how to think about and translate these participles here. If, number one, if the adverbial participle is active voice, use the ing form of the verb. If it's passive, we're going to use, usually it's the form ed or en after being. So being eaten, being smoked, okay, being written. So active participle. Here we have luon ha anthropos apethanen. Say that with me. Luon ha anthropos apethanen. Destroying or loosing. Let's go with destroying. That's more fun, right? Destroying, the man died. What is that saying here? It's saying that the man died, and adverbially, what was going on? Yeah, he was destroying something. Okay, so maybe while destroying could have been a way to translate that. Next, we have the passive form. Luomenos, everybody, say that with me. Luomenos. Ha anthropos apethanen. So here's the passive form. So being destroyed, the man died. That makes more sense, doesn't it? Although Samson, it could have been said of him that he was destroying and dying at the same time, wasn't he? All right, look at number 2. If the adverbial idea is temporal, use while blanking if it's active, or while being blanked if it's passive. Now, so same exact sentences, luon ha anthropos apethanen and luomenos, we could translate as while destroying or while being destroyed, the man died. So the temporal idea could be the adverbial notion here. Sometimes the adverbial notion is causal. That is to say, instead of telling you when the main verb's action happened, it might be telling you why the main verb's action happened. So if you see a participle and it's causal, then the participle is giving you the reason, okay? So look at this example here. Luon ha anthropos apethanen. If it's clear from the context that this is a causal use of the participle, then it would be something like, because he was destroying, the man died. Now, this is going to be different than like using while, because when we say while, we can just go to the ing form, but how does it sound to say something like this? Because destroying, the man died. Does that work? No. This is where you're going to have to convert your non-finite verb form, the participle, into what looks like a finite verb form in your English translation. Now, I put here because he was destroying. Because he was destroying. Why did I choose the past tense? Because he was destroying. What do you think? Exactly, because the main verb is past. Notice which stem am I using here? In lu-on. That's the present stem, isn't it? Does that mean that the participle is present time? No. Remember, the participle's use of a present stem versus an aorist stem has nothing to do with absolute time. Okay? So it has to do with aspect. And that's why I've translated this with a progressive sort of notion, right? Because he was destroying, the man died. And then over here, luamenos, if it's causal, then I'm going to translate it as because he was being destroyed, the man died. Okay? Questions here? All right. Note, participles, even though they are adverbial, must still agree with the noun or the implied noun in case, gender, and number. So we have an example here in my handout of a specified noun, an explicit noun, luon ha anthropos. So what case, gender, number is ha anthropos? Masculine singular and nominative, right? So what case, gender, number must the participle be? It must be the same. Okay, so it's luon, right? Which is the nominative masculine singular. That's when I have a specific noun. It's specified, it's overt. I could have a covert or an implied noun. Look at number 1. Luon apethenen. Luon apethenen. Loosing, he died. Or while loosing, he died. Why am I translating this as he died? Yes, luon tells me it's what gender? Masculine. And what number? Singular. Masculine singular. Exactly. Okay. So the he that's implied here is who the luon is co-referential with, right? It refers to the same entity. So while destroying, while loosing, he died. Now look at number 2, luusa apethenen. Loosing, someone died. Is it a he, she, or an it? It's she. While destroying, she died. How do I know that? Because luusa is what? Gender and number? Feminine singular. Because the implied subject pronoun is she here. Okay? All right. There you go. Point number 4 here in your handout has to do with the relative time of participles. As we mentioned, participles do not indicate absolute time. That is the province only of indicative mood verbs. So the present indicative indicates an action is present to the speaker or the present to the speaker's speech. The aorist indicative indicates that the action is past with respect to the time the speaker speaks. So if you look at these two examples, I have Iesus apathneske. It's present active indicative, third singular, so Jesus is dying. Meaning, for the speaker who says it, Jesus is dying at the time that he says it. Okay? If it were second aorist active indicative, Iesus apethenen, the translation would be Jesus died, meaning at the time that the speaker said Jesus died, he had died before the speech act. Okay? Now, adverbial participles, if they are temporal, do not indicate absolute time. They indicate relative time, which is to say that the timing of the participle is relative to the timing of the main verb that it's modifying. So a present stem participle, or as Mounce calls it, a continuous participle, will reflect the same time frame of the main verb that it's modifying. So if you look at our example here, I have luon, which is a present stem participle, ha anthropos apathneske, which is a present active indicative form of apathnesko. The man is dying. Okay? I know this is sad to think about, but the man is dying, and luon is to be translated as something like while he is destroying, the man is dying. Okay? Why have I translated the present participle with a present tense form of is destroying? Because the main verb is present too. Okay? But look at the second example. Luon ha anthropos apethenen. That is a second aorist active indicative verb form here. And that's what time frame? Past. Okay? So the participle luon is the same as the participle luon above, but here I'm going to translate it as while he was destroying. Why? because the main verb is past. The man died. In other words, both of these participles are indicating something contemporaneous with the main verb. Okay, but if the main verb's present, I'll want to translate this present. If it's past, I want to translate the participle past. Now, an aorist, again, Mounce calls it an undefined participle. You can also call this the perfective participle, right? The present participle stem would be imperfective. Will normally, but not always, but most of the time, indicate a time frame prior to the main verb that it's modifying. So we haven't quite learned the aorist participles yet, but this is an aorist active participle, lusas, and then I have ha anthropos apathneske. That's present in time. Okay, so the man is dying. Lusas is an aorist participle. So I'm going to translate this as after he destroys, or after he destroyed something, the man dies. When I have an aorist participle, I'm going to frequently use the word after for my temporal participle, if it's temporal in its nature. Okay, that is to say, I've got a main verb action dying, and the aorist participle in terms of relative time happens before the main verb. Okay. Now, lusas ha anthropos apethenen, there's my aorist form, which is past. How am I going to translate this? After he destroyed, or after he had destroyed, the man died. Okay, again, I have two actions, and the aorist participle indicates the action that is further back than the main verb's action. The main verb is past. The participle, if it's aorist, is further back in the past. Okay, so after he destroyed, the man died. Which happened first? The destroying, then the dying. Okay? All right, so that's basically how we're going to think about the nature of the relative time of these participles.